Can you see me okay, Scott? All right. This is Elizabeth Yang here in Sacramento, California, on the quest to believe that we are enough. Behind me are all of the Sac sisters and one brother who is not on camera because he is holding this, Scott, that joined me for the workshop tonight. And so a big shout out to World Financial Group, Dr. Mai Lee Yang, for having us tonight. She is our gold sponsor with World Financial Group. We love our sponsors because they are the ones that help make this possible for Hmong women take on the world. So we are going to wrap up with our aha moments from our sisters and then your Q&A questions for our California Sacramento sisters. All right. So who would like to start first? What is your aha moment from tonight?
I'll start. So when Paku and I were talking about our dreams, and aha moment was just I needed to vocalize my own in order to connect with others, and from there create a synergy and find ways that we can help each other.
Great.
When you mentioned it when we were doing the roles, and I did realize I did not put me as part of that, and then going back and thinking about what it is that I wanted for the roles.
I think a big aha moment for me in general was just the whole thing, because it's very powerful, and if nobody's ever been to one, you guys should come, because when Elizabeth got emotional, I got emotional. And I think that that's very strong because, you know, kind of seeing Elizabeth get emotional about it too means that it means a lot to her, which is always good to know that when you're backing someone and it means a lot to them, it makes you feel even better that you're backing them. So, yeah.
I'm going to piggyback on that. My aha moment was the whole experience, and definitely yes. I didn't know what to expect, but you know, this is it brought everyone together, and there's a lot of people that I didn't know. I only knew one person, Joe here, but and then learning about Elizabeth's story, so it was very touching. And you know, it's not about the logic that moves people, but it's the emotion.
My aha moment is just getting to hear everyone's story and realizing that there's so many, we're all Hmong girls, but we all come from different walks of life. We all have different passions and different drives in life, and it makes me feel like I'm not alone, because I've always felt like I've always wanted something more, and it seems like all of us want something more too, so it's really empowering to be in a room with women.
Well, I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I love just being able to network, because one day I'm gonna want to go back into the workforce. So getting to know all of you guys. I'm happy because I know that I have some people, like if I want to send my home, I got you. Excited.
My aha moment is managing my energies in the right time and place. Yeah, I think that's something like I've always used the excuse, oh, I don't have time for that, I don't have time for that. But I think Elizabeth, what she said today, what really hit me was finding that energy for the specific, things that I want to do.
My aha moment was that there are actually a lot of writers in this room. I definitely want to connect with. Yeah.
For me, the biggest thing was the Elizabeth, one of your words was disruptor, being a disruptor, and I've never thought much about that until Hmong women take on the world, actually, and that to make a difference, you have to be a disruptor. You have to go against whatever is happening at that time. And then my other takeaway is that your dream is in your hands. And so if you are able to articulate it, then you are able to achieve it. And that's one of the big takeaways for me.
Anybody else would like to share their aha moment?
I think for me, my aha moment is the pivot circles. I think it was really awesome for us to end with just realizing that no matter where we go in life, we can always turn around and help those behind us. And I think I'm really blessed to work in higher education, where I have the opportunity to do that every single day of my life when I'm at work. And so I think that's why I love what I do so much, and I'm so blessed that I just do it as a career in general. But I do encourage all women out there to always turn around and help the sisters right behind them so that we can all be at the top together.
Anybody else?
I guess I'll go. My aha moment was basically this whole workshop itself, hearing your inspiring story and hearing how you started this great thing, and then just hearing all of these women's their stories, and it's just very empowering, and yeah, it's great. I loved it, everything about it.
My aha moment was knowing there were 7 million Hmong women around the world just waiting to be inspired.
Anybody else? So let's jump into the Q&A questions from our sisters here that have questions for you. And anybody can jump in. There is no right or wrong. And then if you are comfortable, then our global audience always encourages us to speak Hmong. So True Yang asks, what are challenges you face when approaching women who are closed-minded to Hmong women empowerment?
I think for me, I just keep being persistent, and then I will take different approaches to explain things. Because maybe you have one way, they might not understand, but you take a different approach. They might be like, oh, okay, so that's what you mean. So just being insistent, persistent, and just explaining what you mean.
I think you have to come from a really humble place, because personally experiencing women who really put empowerment of just women in the forefront, it's not very good experiences, just because they're coming from a place of privilege, or they're coming from a place of a place where they already have worldly experiences, and coming back to the community with that mindset, it's not very approachable, it's not friendly. And so if you are trying to empower your fellow sisters, coming from a very humble space would be better.
I think in my personal experience, the reason why someone's not taking your approach is because they don't understand it from their perspective. So I think the most important thing that I would recommend is try looking at it from that person's perspective, the one who's being very stubborn, and try to understand why they're not understanding where you're trying to come from in terms of empowerment. And I think once you get from their perspective, then you can figure out ways to weave in to them so they can kind of get your perspective. And even if it doesn't happen in that first try, there's many trials that you can go through in order to get them on board. Like, don't consider it as like a one-shot deal, like you have to just do it then and they're going to understand. I think sometimes it's trial and error until they finally understand.
Anybody else want to add to that?
I think something to keep in mind is not to take it personally. If they're not feeling like in that moment they want to be empowered the same way that you are, not to take it personally, because we never know what season of life somebody is in and what they're going through at that time, and maybe they're not ready for the type of empowerment that you are currently experiencing. So that's something that I always keep in mind. If somebody doesn't want to be empowered at that moment in that same way, to not take it personally.
What are the challenges you face when approaching Hmong communities about women empowerment as a whole? So maybe this is not about another Hmong sister, but just in general the community here in Sacramento. Or I know some of you are from local areas, but just in general the Hmong community.
Well, I think for me, I'd go off of what Pa said. If you can only do what you can to try to educate them, and don't take it personally if you understand Gala, or they feel like, why would you say that? Because maybe they're coming from a place of not understanding Hmong women empowerment. So I'd say do your best to educate them, do your best to educate the community, understand that not everyone thinks like you. I think it's really important to just not take it personally.
I think coming from experience, the first time tabling, and so you're gonna be approached by a lot of Hmong elders who don't know what empowerment means, right, or the concept is. So for us, we're like, good luck, just explain Hmong to them what we do. I'm like, oh, okay. And so I think and we'll explain to them. They're like, oh, it's good because we need more of that. You know, I wish I had that when I was younger. I would tell my daughter-in-law about this. Later on, like an old lady would bring up her daughter-in-law. Oh, this is what I was talking to you about. You know, so I feel very helpful and hopeful for the future that people are being more open-minded. Even like elder Hmong will come up to me. They're like, we need more of this in the community because we need to uprise just not our sons but our daughters too. So perspectives are changing in the community, and it was really nice to see that happening in front of my eyes too.
Yeah, I think also this movement is new, and we've come a long way, but even if you look at society as a whole, it's still very sexist. So for us taking the first step, it's not going to be taken, well at first, right? But as long as we continue to progress and believe, in what we do and what our goal and the mission is, then, people will come along. But I think to make people understand is that we have to first get into their world to understand where they're at so that we can bring them into our world.
So if you are on Facebook and you are watching, we have some people watching, and you have questions you would like to ask our Sacramento sisters live, feel free to type that into the comments. So what challenges do you think Hmong sisters still face today when working in a profession, just in general, here in Sacramento? Like, what are some of the common professions or industries that a lot of Hmong women are doing here that are working here?
I think for Yer and I think Belle too, working in higher education, I don't know about the two of you, but I wonder, wait a minute, was that aimed at my race? Was that aimed at who I am? And so I still experience that daily. And being a Hmong woman, sometimes I try to avoid problems, but now I'm getting it to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna run anymore. If it is a microaggression, I need to say that it is, and I need to identify it, and I need to deal with it that way. So that's something that I'm experiencing as a higher education professional still in the workplace. If you two wanted to chime in.
Yeah, and to just also go in a completely different direction, I think another challenge I face as a young professional is just even trying to convince my parents when I have to go on conference trips. My dad was like, why is your husband going with you? Well, when he'll go by, and I'm like, no, it's a conference trip. It costs like $3,000. They're not going to send my husband with me just because you feel like I need a chaperone. And so I always have to have that type of conversations with my parents about why I need to go on a business trip that sends me to Arkansas for several days, unchaperoned, in a hotel room, with other people of other ethnic backgrounds. And so for me, along with just the microaggression at work, I feel like I'm still battling, even just convincing my parents why it's important for me to be in this role at my work. And so I hope as we continue to grow within the Hmong community, that parents become more open-minded about the different roles that their children, whether it be male or female, play when they're outside of the home, and that would be great.
Go ahead, Crystal. I was saying, I think another challenge is also not feeling like you're good enough for the workplace. I know that, especially as an entrepreneur, when you go out and you hustle for your dreams and you're on your own and you're young and there are older people in the field, they look at you and they're like, oh, you don't know anything, you're not that good. And then you have to double time and extra prove to not just them, but to yourself that you do know what you're talking about. And I think that's a big struggle because you feel confident and then somebody comes and they shake you, and then you have to double up your confidence and say, no, I know what this is, I can do it. And I think that's something not just Hmong women, but women in general deal with, in a sense, quote unquote, being second to men when we're working. I work with my fiance, and sometimes they look to him when it's me talking. And so they have to understand that I run my business. It's we're partners, but I'm running this part of our business, and I think that's a big struggle.
So let's see here online. Nia Ning Zong Ya says hello from Michigan. Nisha Shong says hello from Massachusetts. Mai Cheng says Hmong Women Empowerment. Sue Vang says, hi Pa, you're an MK, so bummed I couldn't make it with you all. Lee Adley, man, make the sisters your Facebook names, Ma. Hi, Lily. Okay, so question here. What do you wish you could see more of in your Hmong community here in Sacramento?
I would love to see more workshops like this, you know, because I think being married and having kids, a lot of times you don't get to go out and mingle and have friends and get empowered, feel empowered by other women. So I think just like maybe having more workshops like this and going out to network, that'd be something great.
I'd like to see men and women in each other's places, in each other's roles. I think for me personally, we have spaces like this as women because like what you say yourself, you know, your mother was your inspiration. Your mother is the one who taught you how to go out there and be this way. And I think in general, we are all like that. Or I grew up in a family where my father was progressive enough to not stop his daughters from pursuing certain goals. But at the same time, a lot of our brothers are held to a certain standard within their own community. And although education is put upon them, they always say, well, your role is at home. And a lot of our brothers are not here. They don't have spaces like this. And so to have a space for also, you know, in the future, for also our brothers as well. My brother's actually going through a midlife crisis.
Calling him out on Facebook.
Yeah, you know, yeah. But it's not just my brother though, because I see my cousins going through it. I see other Hmong men going through it. And as we rise, I think that we shouldn't forget our other halves.
So Sue jokingly asked, which Hmong gal lives near San Francisco that will let me and my family stay with them for super cheap for vacation? Let's see here. So here in Sacramento, are there schools that teach Hmong as a language here in any of the schools or university here in Sacramento?
Oh, I was going to say, I was pointing at Stacy because I think she could speak on that. No,
Okay.
there's a school in there, yeah.
Yes, there's charter school Yaping Shua, and then Susie B. Anthony is a Hmong and English school as well. And there's a lot of Saturday weekends programs too. There's one coming up this summer for a summer camp for a 6-week in northern Sacramento, and it's open, it's free to all the kids. And then I'm also a teacher at Hmong School, and we have Elk Grove in Stockton, and we've been doing every Saturdays as well too. And we're wrapping up the year too. So it's really great just to see like the Niedati kind of voicing that they need this for their kids, because we can't really do this without the parents, really. Yeah.
Great.
I also know of 2 high schools that actually have it as a part of the curriculum. So you can choose Hmong as a second language at Burbank High and at Grant High School.
Oh, wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah. Recently, Grant High School, they got a grant to teach Hmong elders, adults who don't know Hmong. So
That's cool.
they did that too for like a month. So that was really cool too.
That's awesome. Okay, so on our Facebook Live, I did not plant this question, but they asked, what does it mean to be a Hmong woman taking on the world?
I can try to approach that because I'm working on something that's bigger than myself that I can handle. So I think when I'm approaching people from, sometimes I forget to approach them from, you know, like we've been talking about their perspective, and I just assume that they'll know the terminologies that I know. And then so I've learned how to really kind of work around that and also at the same time work with a team who can use the same vocabulary to, you know, really create a community that will work well. And I think I think taking on the world is very ambitious, and when you're creating like something new that's not in the community, it's very hard to explain to people your visions. And so I think for me, it's always been a challenge for me to just kind of see where it will go in the future. So, I mean, it's really fun because you get to talk about, hey, what's your goals? What's your dreams versus what's my dream? And sharing their story. I think that right now the platform out there in social media and online, the presence on the web is so good because there's so many writers that are coming out. There's so many bloggers who are coming out, YouTubers who are coming out, and they're breaking the norm. They're breaking the system of like traditional careers, and that's so great to see too.
I think it means standing in your truth. And a big part of Hmong Women Take on the World is sharing your story authentically. And so when the term taking on the world doesn't necessarily mean taking on the whole world, but it could be letting your true self be seen by the whole world, and owning your story and being proud of your story and your journey of who you are. I think for me, that's the whole meaning of what taking on the world is for each individual woman herself.
I did all that completely.
Alright. Any final words before we wrap up the Facebook Live that you would like to leave our global sisters with?
You need to take on the world too.
Not just that, but everybody, friends and family, get everyone together and definitely watch the summit because I think a lot of you are going to be moved by the stories and you're going to laugh and you're going to cry. There are a lot of stories that are very emotional, but I think that a global audience can relate to every single story that we have, every single struggle. I think that's the most powerful part.
So, just a couple of questions that popped up last minute here. Chelsea Hughes said, Pa, I love that. Nia Ning Zong Ya asked, is it important to identify yourself as either just Hmong or Hmong American and why?
I think it just depends on how you want to identify yourself. I personally identify myself as Hmong American because I was American born, and my lifestyle is a lot more towards the Western side, and I split it in half because when I'm at home, I'm Hmong and American, but when I'm at work, I'm all American because I live in America. So I think it's just what's important to you, but what's important to me is just identifying myself and what's truest to me, which is Hmong American.
Anybody else want to add to that? Okay. So this is Elizabeth Yang with our Sacramento sisters here on the Quest to Believe that we are all of our sisters all around the world so that we can find our tribe to be inspired to take on the world in our own way. So we are signing off tonight, and can I just get a big wave from everybody to say goodnight? And we are out.